Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically hockey, and even more specifically, just Canada. I'm your co-host, Mick. You can find me on Twitter at ProfitMick, and I'm joined ever by my lovely and talented co-host,
Grant, on Twitter at Fourth Line Sports. I don't know if you know this, but we talk about this myth every year, and that is the myth of the overtime week. And I don't know if you've been paying attention, but it's been overtime week this week. It's been overtime games every night, and not just one or two. Maybe last night was just one or two, but for the most part, there was 3, 4. I think we even hit 5 on one night. We're at the end of it. It's not going to go on forever, but maybe, just maybe, this is one of those magical shootout Saturdays where half the games go to overtime.
Nice. So I saw it a couple weeks ago. I could look back based on just my gambling notes. We did have an overnight where I think all but 3 games went over their totals. That was pretty impressive. And I might have picked all 3 of them on a parlay. So, man, that's hard to do.
Oh, man, yeah. The 3 unders. Here, I'm just going to roll the dice with these ones.
Everything. You could have told me in advance, everything is going to be over tonight. Just pick what you want. And then, or except for 3 games. And for me to arbitrarily pick those 3 games, I was like, wow, that is incredible. So let's see if we can keep that magic going. With that illusion, maybe later in the show, Grant can go pick the 3 non-overtime games for today.
Oh, trust. If someone could do it right now with the way that I'm picking on the podcast, it's me. Every game is going to go to a shootout or overtime except for the 3 that I outlined. Don't worry. We know that's happening.
Just dial it in. So dial it in. Oh, yeah, a couple overtimes last night even. Look at that. Okay, on that topic, and this is your first show, we're going to do some headlines. We're going to look at the Canadian teams. We're going to do some fantasy advice. We're going to do some gambling advice. We're going to look at some boobs, as well as once in a while we say, is there a major kind of talking point? Something came up in the last week that you want to discuss outside of the Canada sphere? And occasionally stories do pop up. So there was an interview that Gary Bettman gave earlier this week where he alluded to that NHL teams don't tank. It's really not in their favor to tank based on their weighted lottery system. And players and coaches do not tank. Have you heard the great Gary Bettman with his quote this week?
I am flabbergasted, shocked. And Gary Bettman needs to take his own dick out of his mouth long enough to put together a coherent sentence. 2 Canadian teams already this week have said one of our best players is done for the year. Do you know how often that happens in hockey? Rarely. Rarely does somebody concede this player cannot come back this year. 82 games, months long. We all got all of February, March, half of April, and we're not even in February yet. So Mikheyev with the Canucks, Caulfield with the Habs, they're both done. And on top of that, hockey players have a reputation for playing through shit. This isn't a matter of teams not insulating themselves. This is a matter of teams giving themselves the best shot at Connor Bedard. It just doesn't make sense. You can't tell me both of those plays coincidentally, teams near the bottom of the standings who are, have injuries to key players are just yeah, you know what? We're holding these guys out for the rest of the year for their sake. Get the fuck out of here. Nonsense. Utter nonsense.
I agree with Gary Bettman's statement. I'm just going to throw that out there. Actually, I wanted to do a spit take. Get the fuck off my podcast. What he said was coaches and players don't tank. He didn't say teams don't tank. Someone looked at that and put a big headline on the interview. What he said was teams and players don't tank. That is why you see more competitiveness, parity throughout the league to the end of the season, right? Hockey players are a different breed of player. When they're on the ice, they're playing to win. They give it their all. Very, very, very seldomly do they just kind of not give any fucks, right? It happens. But compared to other professional sports, and I believe his comments were more of an allusion to, look at the load management epidemic that's going on in the NBA, right? There's stories all the time of guys going and there was some kid this last week apparently who had a sign, and he's like, I flew 4,000 kilometers from Argentina to see my favorite player, Jimmy Butler, play. And Jimmy Butler was taking the night off, right? And they gave him a good roasting there. And you see it all the time in basketball. Like, why would you go to a basketball game? Because you're going to go and you're like, oh, we're going to see Kawhi Leonard, we're going to see Jokic playing tonight, cool. Clippers, Nuggets. Oh, yeah, they're all sitting. You're watching the bench play tonight. Like, you know, like, from a live experience, why are you going to basketball games? Look at baseball, right? Like, there's some baseball teams that are like, oh, we just paid some Puerto Ricans minimum wage to play baseball this year for our team. Yeah, we're going through some bankroll issues. At the start of the year, you know that team's shit. Like, they come out and they say, hockey, on the other hand, doesn't necessarily lean that hard into when you see a player play, they give it their all. They may not be the best, right? But they're out there, they're playing. If they're healthy and can go, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, those guys are out there giving them all. So hockey players are born a little differently. They're not as flamboyant, they're not as charismatic, they're not as entertaining, but they are athletes that care about their sport, right? So from that point of view, I agree with Gary Bettman's statement. And yeah, I hate the rat-faced man, but I'm like, oh, he actually kind of had a good point. He runs a quality league, so.
I will concede players probably are built a little different. I've got a few points to make. So much to touch on. One, don't you dare slander the Tampa Bay Rays in fucking January. I know we have bankroll issues. Screw you, Mick. 2, look at the dummies in Los Angeles when you're paying, like, I don't even know how many thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to sit courtside. You get there, you buy your $20 beer, and it's like, LeBron and AD just don't have it tonight. You get to watch whoever the fuck it is. Yeah. But I will concede hockey players probably do have a little bit more effort. But I think even coaches, I'm not even going to extend this to coaches, because I've seen guys play on power plays that shouldn't play on power plays. And I think that I'm going to reserve the line of decisions also to the coaches. Like, to say that Cole Caulfield's not going to play, that's not Cole Caulfield's choice. That's a coach's choice. Whether it came directly from Martin St. Louis' mouth or whatever their fucking GM's mouth. And likewise with Mickey Evan in Vancouver. I think it's a matter of someone making a decision for a player to say no. Because, and maybe that's a nice tie into the first point where I say, we see players play through this. Like, players have this reputation for playing on broken bones and taking teams out mid-game. Like, that's the nature of hockey.
Shea Weber had some type of injury that he played into the Stanley Cup Finals, and then he could never play hockey ever again, right? Like, what the fuck happened there, right? Like, the toughness and the fucking testicles on that guy. Holy shit.
We can't talk about Shea Weber's testicles, because the dick's going to go from Gary Bettman's mouth to mine. Okay. Because, God bless Shea Weber. That man deserved better things. But, so, if we're drawing lines and boundaries between, teams, players, coaches, yes, I concede players do not tank, but teams and coaches tank, and they don't deploy their best players with the intention of being like, you know what, I'm gonna try and boost our team's chances come draft lottery night.
Yeah, and more of just that competitive it just makes sense. So, I've said for a while, Montreal Canadiens suck. They're going to be terrible. They're going to go 4-0 against the Leafs this year. We saw it last week. They for some reason, the Montreal Canadiens, they step up. They play their best game. They put their best foot forward, and they're competitive right to the end. And you see it all the time, right? There will be teams like the President's Trophy winners will be on a 3 or 4 game losing streak going into the playoffs. Because, yeah, they're playing the bottom 4 teams in the league, but for some reason those teams stepped up and beat the top guys. And you see that more than any other sport, right? Other sports, if it's the best team, usually they stomp. It's just, I don't know, hockey's built differently. It's a different sport in general. I think that's kind of why you grow to love it, right?
Yeah. Basketball's worse for that. The one time the T-Wolves beat the Spurs as an 8 seed, everybody talks about that. It was fucking 20 years ago. It was something like that. I don't know if that was the exact matchup. Hasn't happened since, and people still hang on to that moment. I was like, man, I can think of at least 2 8 seeds who have made it on a sincere run or knocked off top teams over the last few years. Like Columbus 4 years ago when they knocked off, and then Montreal on the run during the pandemic year.
Yeah, it's just very fickle. So there you go. Who would have thought? Gary Bettman appreciation at the top of the Canada Puck podcast. So
you maybe half appreciation.
Just and that like said, what he said was like a kind of true statement, and he wasn't completely full of shit.
All right. I will. Yes, it was not completely full of shit. Gary Bettman statement.
Cool. Awesome. I mean, I also hate Gary Bettman, so I don't know why I decided to jump on that horse this morning.
You know who needs a hug? Gary Bettman. I'm gonna give him a podcast hug.
Well, just saying, if you want to become the most popular, the number one most popular podcast in hockey, just blow Gary Bettman once in a while. He'll be like, "Oh, those kids like me. Okay, all right. Well, we'll give him a good deal."
Oh man, I'm gonna have to take over the FanDuel section, and I don't know if we have the wherewithal to write about 4 players who could get shots and power play points, Mick. Oh my god,
that is an illusion. After our headlines, we talked Canadian teams. Oh boy, did they do? Maybe they did well last week, Grant. Maybe you should bite your tongue.
I guess we'll find out because I can't even remember who they were. I don't even remember who we had on our roster. So
yeah,
I'm excited to unpack this later.
Oh boy! So headlines. What I did was I quickly put the standings top to bottom, 1 to 32. We're gonna scroll up the list and talk about the poor Canadian teams as they come up. Bottom 5. I see a couple Arizona teams. Well, one Arizona teams. A couple California teams. Yeah, Gary, we really need to push hockey in those markets. Number 27, 6 from the bottom, Vancouver Canucks. Boudreaux was fired. Trotchet? Rick Tocchet? Is that his name? How do you say his name? Tocchet?
Yeah, Rick Tocchet.
All right, he was hired. Someone threw a jersey on the ice in his first game. They won a couple games. Does anyone care?
So I will say this. You hear me talk, I know this isn't the first time I've talked about it, but the coaching bump. Anytime teams get a new head coach, inevitably, you get a bump. It motivates players for an extended period. In the Vancouver Canucks case, it lasted 1 game. They played great. I can't even remember. It was against some shit team. Maybe it was Chicago. Whoever it is, they won. The next night, 7-1 to Seattle. Very rarely do you see games go this direction, but their expected goals for rating in that game was like 20-something. Absolutely shit kicked. So kudos to the Vancouver Canucks for your 1-game bump with the head coaching change.
And they did just sign one of their players to a couple-year deal, because why move players in breakout seasons for assets when you're trying to tank? Keep them around, right? That's Vancouver. You have some of the worst contract signings literally in the league.
The best is they $5 million. I would think it was $5.5 million. This guy signed for. He came out of nowhere. This reminds me of the oh my god, who was that? The Koskinen signing, where it was like, look at how good this guy's played for 40 games. Yes, give him money. We got to give him money. And then it's like, well, we'll see if it's deserved long term. I guess I'm not sold on the transaction, but we'll see.
I mean, I guess if he's there and he likes being there and he's a little bit cheaper and you're not paying Ilya Mikheyev, who's one of your best players, which is terrible, for $4.5 million, Ilya Mikheyev should not, he should be a third-line guy. If he's one of your best players, you have a organizational, terrible. Speaking of Montreal, terrible organizations. Hey, look at that. 26th from the top. Other than beating the Leafs last week, did they do anything noteworthy?
That was I appreciate that segue. We're like, yeah, we're gonna get this segue in there. You got it in there, good. Montreal has actually been on a bit of a run, believe it or not. 3-2-1 in their last 6, but it's a paper tagger of a run up the standings because they've been outplayed virtually every night. Sam Montembeault apparently didn't get the memo that Montreal's actually looking for a top draft pick and not points right now. So even Jake Allen last time out, he returned from a two-week absence and he looked pretty good. So anyways, all that's to say is goaltending isn't this caliber. You can't win every night when you get outplayed like you do. So this was a good 6-game run. Maybe they get past the Sens tonight, but it's all going to implode here for Montreal shortly.
Yeah, well, it's kind of just been mildly imploded. Speaking of the Senators, look at that, 25th. What a cute little cluster fuck of Canadian teams at the bottom there. Not bottom 5. We're not the 5 worst. Oh, no, I assure you not. Ottawa, they had a pretty good showing. They looked like they cared. Why do... this is one of those weird things. Like, the Sens will beat the Leafs, but then they'll be on a 10-game losing streak, and then they'll beat the Leafs again. And you're like, why do they care so much about this? You know, it's the I don't think about you at all syndrome that some of these other Canadian clubs have. That's it. I just want to talk about Toronto, apparently. I don't really want to talk about this dead franchise. Although, I did put money on the Senators, and I actually almost recorded myself for this show from last night, being like, Senators are going to win by like 4 goals. Putting all $100 on it. You have to take this because I'm recording it before it. And then, like, as I was watching the game, I was like, yeah, Leafs just don't really care about this one, That's too bad.
If we had a producer, it would be that we could stitch these things together. So we spent years. Maybe this is advice we should take. We spent years looking for a sponsor. Like, here, sponsor us, Metamucil, sponsor us, NHL, blah, 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 blah. Maybe step one. Step one for us probably should have been, hey, why don't we hire a producer to actually put together quality content? We fucked up again. Anyways, maybe. Probably not. Senators, though, 6-2. I was on the wrong side of that coin last night. However, before I made my pick, I had no idea Austin Matthews wasn't playing. I don't know if that was a one-off. Anyways.
He's out for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something like that. He's got a sprained knee. So he's missing the All-Star festivities, but he's only missing 6 games. Because they must have a bye week or something. I don't know if bye weeks are back.
I think that the NHL has tried to incorporate those over the last couple of years, where it's like, I can't remember if it was a full week or it was like 5 days of just no hockey activities. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was built into the last CBA. So timing-wise, I guess it kind of makes sense.
So he's missing... I think one of those is the All-Star game. So he's now... The next 4 games, Matthews won't be with the Leafs. And over the course of the next 3 weeks, I'm like, that sounds like a good vacation for a guy who has a little bit of wear and tear, right? And there you go. Typical load management from NHL soft-ass players.
And kudos to us. This was a hell of an Ottawa Senators segment.
Yeah, they're dead to me. They know what they did. Let's see. Flyers. Oh, look at that. Nothing. Oh, the Flames at 15th. Cool.
So I have a funny anecdote about the Flames, but I want to know if there's anything you were hoping to chat about.
I was the other day. Someone said, "Oh, I went to the Flames game." And someone, "Oh, did they win?" And they said, "Oh no, they got their ass kicked." I said, "Who were they playing?" And they said, "Oh, the Chicago Blackhawks." And I went, "Ha!" So there you go.
Well, and that's a natural segue into my story, because apparently the entire team was doing some sort of like PR session at Mercado. I don't know if you know Mercado. Hey, Mercado, we're actually looking for a sponsor still. Anyways, Italian eatery down on 4th Street. Spent the entire day there, and then they had to go play a game that night. I was like, that's probably what sunk them. You can't do PR events on game days, man. That just doesn't make sense.
No.
Then you probably have a late lunch, and then you're carbing up in time at a wrong time. And they came out absolutely flat against the Blackhawks. So, anyways, don't do PR events on game days, Flames. That's
100%.
just fucking hockey 101.
Well, and just don't go at a delicious Italian eatery that has like fine assortments of antipastos, fresh Italian breads, all store-made fresh pastas, Nono's old special sauce recipe. You just can't beat the taste of Mercado's. So I can understand why they came out a little flat, maybe overindulged a little bit, which I'm sure all of you would if you went and stopped by. Mercado's on 4th.
Mercado's, eat fresher.
Eat fresher. Our subs aren't made from horses. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Traditional goat subs. Yeah.
All right. If Calgary is what they are, like they're middle of the standings, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel bad. Like it's got to the point now where I'm starting to feel bad for Calgary, because I'm just like, it's not getting any better. Like, there is no silver lining in the story, you know? Like, I know how it happens, and that's a shame.
Yeah. Poor Huberdeau, yeah. Anyways, they got what they deserved. They built themselves this castle of off-season transactions, and now they've got to live in it, so we'll see.
Yeah,
maybe they turn things around.
Huberdeau is kind of just his hubris maybe was a little bit much. Because like in theory, he could have been like, no, you know what? I'll sign for a little bit less to stay in Florida because it's nice, and then I don't have to deal with like a random foot of snow in my driveway that I have to now shovel. I don't know how to shovel.
If I hadn't scored a goal, you can't expect me to know how to shovel, guys.
Yeah, I don't have the handwork. My hands don't. I don't have like the finesse to get the puck the shovel going. So
I'm gonna drive by Huberto's house tonight, and I'm just gonna see snow just all mangled over his driveway. Well, I guess Huberto tried shoveling again today.
He did shovel all the snow. It just didn't go where it needed to. Huh. Well, an ice girl, or an ice crew member, he could not be. So. All right. I'm guessing we're going to see the Oilers somewhere as I scroll up. Oh, 12th. I feel like the Oilers are on a nice, steady little climb. 7-1-2 in their last 10. Hey, that's all right. It's trending in the right direction. They're moving up towards the top. Kane came back last week.
It's not even Kane that's made a difference for this team. It's just offensively. Maybe Kane has made a difference. Maybe it does. They were trending up. We talked a little bit about this last week. They were trending up. They were going on this nice path upwards, and Kane came back, and that solidified everything. And inevitably, it's a fate loves irony. You lose to the fucking Blue Jackets on home ice in overtime. At least you get a point out of it. You outplayed them from basically start to finish. So one of those inevitable flat spots that only come up. And this is going to be, I talked a little bit about the resiliency of the Oilers last week or the week before. This is another one of those resiliency points because in the past, losses weren't one-offs for the Oilers. Like, it's just like they get stuck in this rut and then nothing fucking happens and they lose a bunch of games and it's like, oh shit, we're outside the playoffs again, time to pick it up. So tonight's effort against the lowly Blackhawks will be a true testament of, like, is this a new and improved Oilers team, or is this a team that's just going to get down on themselves again?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's a long season, too, and you're going to have ups and downs, and I heard mentioned somewhere, I was going to bring it up, actually, in one of our other teams, but the Oilers work, too. They were discussing receivers, or just NFL teams, right? And kind of like receiver cores, and they mentioned eliteness, not completeness, and that is a way of building a team, right? So you're elite at 2, 3, 4 positions, and the rest you kind of have holes, and you're going to live and die by your workhorses, right? And the Edmonton Oilers kind of amplify that, right? They are not the most complete hockey team, but they have two of the most elite players, or two of the elite players in the league, right? So it is that kind of that. Do you want a complete hockey team that's going to work hard and put in the full 60 minutes, or do you want the guys that they're on the ice for 20 minutes and they're going to change the game, right? They're going to be 47 seconds of just absolute astonishment, and you're going to sit there and say, what just happened? And that's kind of the Oilers in a nutshell, and ups and downs, right, with that strategy, unfortunately. So there you go, eliteness, not completeness.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. That hit me right in the feels.
Yeah.
And on that note, I can't open fucking Instagram these days without seeing, Oilers rumor. They're linked to this person, or this person, they're going to trade Puljujärvi. They are not living up to their end of the New Year's resolutions, because they are still not doing anything to address those inefficiencies or the lack of completeness. So,
and that's, like you can just tinker at this point and try and fill in one or two gaps, but it's kind of they're a sinking ship with a hell of a flux capacitor driven engine on the back of that Titanic, right? So like, we're going to try and get to New York, but like, I realize we're sinking, so hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Yep. That's it.
All right. Top 10. Ooh, look at that. We've got 2 Canadian teams in the top 10 at number 7, lucky 7. Oh boy. Look at that. Winnipeg Jets, 5-5 in their last 10, 2-game losing streak.
Circumstances didn't favor the Jets over the last little while, and that is they were on a 5-game. I mentioned this last week, but they completed their 5-game road trip. It was 3 games on road, 1 game at home, 5 games on the road. So basically, 8 or 9 straight games in 9 different arenas, and you could tell by the end of it they were just done. Like against Nashville, I think Nashville was the end of the road trip, and just like one of the worst performances of the league. Like Nashville just ran train on them that night. So they've been back at home. We're getting more complete efforts, but still not going their way. It seemed inevitable. You come back off a tough road trip. You kind of sink into the comforts of home. You know you're going to be flat the first game back out against the Buffalo Sabres. No more excuses now. You got your metrics working for you. You get to Philadelphia Flyers on a Saturday night. Like, this is time for the Jets to start wheeling and dealing and climb, end that bad luck streak.
And there we go. Flip it around. I agree with that one. Yeah. There was another gambling, adjacent podcast I was listening to, and they were discussing how, what was it, the Grizzlies, Memphis Grizzlies. It was like Aaron Brooks' birthday, one of their better players, and the next game they had a game in Phoenix, and they just got demolished. Absolutely just demolished. And they're like, well, yeah, it's because one of their, everyone loves Aaron Brooks. It's his birthday. Obviously, they're going out the night before, and they're going to get a little sauced up, and they're not going to be as good the next day. Could you make a a calendar of all the players' birthdays? And you could see, the boys are on a road trip in Vegas. It's, Mason Appleton's birthday. Maybe the Knights get an easy win against the Jets, right? So, there you go. So, if there's any, fan sites out there that, kind of follow players and celebrate birthdays, may not be the worst Twitter follow in the world.
Mick, I'm pretty sure you could monetize that. If you were willing to do that for all 4 major sports, I'm confident you could monetize that. And if you're not going to do it, I'm going to steal it from you, and then I'm going to monetize it.
Right? It's one of those markers, on a road trip, party city, birthday of a popular. It doesn't even have to be popular, right? Just anyone's birthday. Guys are going out and they need an excuse to party and let loose, especially in some of the fun party ones. Oh boy!
Except in Nathan McKinnon's case, because that fucking nerd doesn't do anything fun. You guys want to come have some fucking cottage cheese?
High fiber? Look, I got high fiber cupcakes. This is a muffin. Muffins suck.
You fruit and fiber muffins isn't cupcakes, you dick.
God damn it. I hate you. So, there you go. Yeah, it's not a terrible idea. So, I'm giving out a lot of solid. That's actually my only good thing I've said today, so I'm not going to pump my own tires here. And then at 4, got the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yay. What did they? They lost to Montreal. Told you. I had money on the Senators. Whew, great. Missed out on the Islanders play earlier this week, and then I think I had... I lost some money on the Rangers, but is what it is, right? We already kind of talked about Matthews. We've already talked about that. The Mitch Marner. Did you see the Mitch Marner overtime goal against the Rangers?
No.
Oh, this is almost like one of those segments where I'm going to talk for a second, and I almost feel like you should pull it up. Just overs Rangers time. If you can find that clip, it's 19 seconds. They win the face-off. Puck back to Mitch Marner. He then eviscerates all 3 New York Rangers out on the ice and does his best Bobby Orr to end the game in 19 seconds. Whew. That was a sweet moment. That's one of those things. I like to think, the Rangers are a top 8 team. I don't know. I think they're built very well. They do have a curious case of top draft picks not really doing anything, right? Like the Alex Lafreniere being healthy scratch, the Capo Caco not really, living up to what he was billed at. But other than that, this team, they've got a lot of dogs. They've got a lot of, they just seem like they're big market. They should be kind of a bigger squad. They don't live up to the billing, so it's unfortunate there. Other than that, Leafs are what they are.
So, I got a couple ads to get through, but it finally just opened up here.
All right.
There was one thing that I was gonna... Oh, yeah. That is nice.
Yeah. And I'm not much for highlight. I'm not a highlight guy, but there are maybe a dozen a year where I'm usually 6 Connor McDavids, and then other ones sprinkled in throughout the year. And that was one of the ones I was that might go on the year-end highlight reel where I have to rewatch that one a couple of times because that's dirty.
Yeah, that sandbagging son of a bitch. It feels like it's always that slow to. Cause that's Connor McDavid-esque, where it's that slow to quick burst, and then you just beat him. That's what I saw in that with the 5 seconds that I watched. It was slow play, boom, then flying through the air. But I did want to tie one thing in because I know we talked a lot about the Maple Leafs in the Ottawa Senators segment, but what we didn't touch on.
Tell me something about the Ottawa Senators.
What's that?
Are you going to tell me about the Ottawa Senators now? Role reversal. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Every year I talk about the championship slump. It's not unique to hockey. It is across every sports where these teams hit kind of a rut and then they come out and then they look better. It's different for every sport. You just can't maintain that elite play for a full season. It's just virtually impossible. I don't want to, excite Toronto Maple Leafs because they're already an excitable fan base, but their timing, and I've said this for years, late January, early February is the time when championship slump leads to, playoff success. So maybe the timing is just right for the Leafs. Maybe they can finally shake the playoff monkey off their back, and maybe, just maybe, they can go on a bit of a run, if not win the Stanley Cup outright.
Solid. Yeah, one of the stories that isn't alluded to is, remember when Jake Muzzin got hurt in, game 2? And he's, one of their best, 3 defensemen? And they've just been playing without him, and they've kind of, been it's fine. What's that about? It's kind of weird. Imagine if some other team lost their, second best defenseman. It would probably be, a serious hindrance throughout the season. We're not seeing that so much. We see some shaky goaltending, especially against the Rangers the other night. Some of the goals that Samsonov let in, I was like... But then he made some, then he, recovered, right? And that's kind of what you're paying for. You're not paying for the completeness of his game. You're just kind of, once in a while, he's going to make a flub, and you got to overcome that, right? With your your workhorses up front on offense. So it is what they are, right? And I appreciate you saying nice things to me. Now, also...
Yeah, I knew I shouldn't have said it. Now you're going to go home. You're like, oh, man, this is the year.
We're in! Now, I also would like to the majority of the Toronto fan base right now that are really pissed off whenever they lose a game midweek and are firing Kyle Dubas. Hey, I get it. I get that you became a Toronto Maple Leafs fan 6 months ago. You don't get the rights to fire the GM after 6 months of fandom. Because guess what? In 6 months, you're going to be a fan of whoever else is in the Stanley Cup Finals. You're going to be like, oh, look, I'm a Colorado Avalanche fan. I'm like, no, you're not. There are no Colorado Avalanche fans. Stop it. Stop jumping around. Stop coming and wrecking and messing up the place. We have it in order. Quit it.
I heard this interesting perspective this week, and that is this person advocating for bandwagon fans. And the anarchist in me bought into his arguments because he's like, these franchises don't fucking care about you. You don't deserve the misery that they bring you. I was like, and he's like, honestly, they just take your money and they fuck with it anyways. It's like, oh my god, these are all valid points. He's like, why not just go to the coolest team and enjoy the ride and enjoy the fun emotions? It's like, fuck, these are good points. Anyways.
Are you implying that as a sports fan I should be happy?
Apparently, some sports fans can feel happiness. It happens, apparently.
Huh. There's actually a football guy I listen to. I think he's an Eagles fan, and he advocates for at the end of the year, don't be upset. Be happy that you got to, go on this adventure with all these other fans that have these emotions and watch your team and win and more than likely lose because only one team wins. At the end of the year, be like, what a cool experience. Fine. As opposed to we need to fire everybody. I'm like, that guy owes... They don't owe you anything, right? It's... But I don't agree with that. So there you go. So that wraps up headlines. The week that was, like we alluded to, I'm sure we'll say it again at some point, but next week, I believe we're not doing anything because it's All-Star Weekend, and we don't participate in that nonsense. And then Super Bowl. So that's kind of probably our last full headline segment. Are we going to do a headline segment for our Super Bowl show?
I think probably not. I think we just like to talk. Maybe if there's something, I don't think it's going to be Canadian team specific. Maybe, for example, if somebody's leg falls off mid-game, we'd talk about that.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. All right. So before we talk about our fantasy advice, which we suck at, we're going to make fun of someone else's terrible fantasy advice. We're going to go to NHL.com, their daily fantasy picks. And last week they did pretty good. So they get 4 random picks. Last week they wanted Timo Meier to have a goal. Guess how many goals he had?
3.
Well, 1. It wasn't that exciting. They wanted Seth Jones for an assist. Guess how many assists he had?
2.
1. They're not that impressive. Power play points. Burkowski. Well, he had 0, so that was less exciting. But shots on goal. Guess how many Evander Kane had?
2.
4.
Ooh.
So that's not bad. They went 3 for 4 last week. Again, we don't understand what they're basing this on, but sometimes they give out just the stupidest picks in the world. Like, what if you only pick defensemen? So for today, you want a goal? There's only one guy who has the power to score a goal on a Saturday night, and his name is Powers. Owen Powers from the Buffalo Sabres. Really? Really? Of all those games, you're like, that's the one. Against Minnesota? Pfft, sieves. All right. Okay. An assist, though. This one, actually, I don't hate. So an assist, Cam Fowler. Anaheim's got Arizona. Arizona kind of sucks. Sure, why not? Again, why defensemen, though?
The bigger issue, who is telling these people to write about you're not trying to draw attention to, no offense, but the Cam Fowlers of the world. You're trying to draw attention to the superstars of the world. There might be 6 people who own a Cam Fowler jersey, and I don't think that they're combing NHL.com to be like, ooh, I was hoping you'd say that about Cam Fowler today.
That's the little, the tip that I needed to finally put him in my FanDuel lineup. Otherwise, I wasn't sure. Power play points, though. Oh, boy. You want power play points? You're looking at one of the best power plays in hockey. You want the Winnipeg Jets, and you want the man, the myth, the legend, Nate Schmidt.
Nate fucking Schmidt?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, screw you, NHL.
Okay, all right. I was like, but why defenseman? That's my question. And then shots on goal. Obviously, they're playing the Blackhawks tonight. There's going to be a lot of just apparent shots. But the only guy who's actually hitting the net tonight, Darnell Nurse.
Oh, God.
But why defenseman?
Maybe this was some job. You got to think that these guys are making fun of us at this point, where it's like, yeah, you want to fill your utility. Two spots in a FanDuel lineup isn't enough for defensemen. You fill your utility spots with these guys too, and this is who you take: Cam Fowler and Nate Schmidt.
Now, saying that, how expensive do you think Nate Schmidt is on FanDuel? So there's a segue for you. Oh, we'll find out after we find out how much money we won last week. Woo! So we've been sucking for a while. We put together these lineups. I finally did it, Grant. I got my $1 back in my $1 contest.
Damn.
I know.
Good for you, man.
I did it. I got 92.5 points. It was just a low-scoring week overall. When it pops back up, I was looking, I think if you got over 100 in this, you basically got doubled your money. Yeah, there was a guy who got 87.7 points. He got $1 too. 86.10, not enough.
I announced something on the podcast last week, and then I ended up going in a moderately different direction.
Okay.
I ended up with 141 points, and I was feeling confident, so I entered it in a $4.44 tournament. I won 9, so technically I won just over $5. But yeah, top heavy did the trick for me, that's for sure.
Nice, solid. Yeah, my mistakes, as you're seeing on the screen right now. Kirby Doc, he had some chances. Man, he had a lot of chances for whatever. I don't think he cost a lot. So I was feeling pretty confident with that one. Nick Suzuki, really, let's see. Moritz Seider, 12 points. I got 8, 11, 9, 9, 12, 8, 13, 9, and 10. That's what won. So just no zeros. Nothing
makes a difference.
Nothing spectacular. I don't think any of the changes I alluded to. My Ilya Samsonov, for whatever it was, the cheapest goalie I could find, got me 10 points. I'm okay with that strategy. I think, yeah. It's better than spending $8,000 and getting a big goose egg because your guy didn't play, which was a pretty good staple of my strategy for a while. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's shocking the amount of zeros we had in our net throughout the season. But I agree. I ended up taking your advice, putting in Samsonov for 10 points. And you know what? That was really the better move. So top performers, it's really this reads exactly like a bell curve. Connor McDavid, Mark Scheifele, Matt Shane, and Lucas Raymond, 33, 35, 27, 21 points respectively. Matthias Ekholm, 8. Brandstrom, Smith, and Holloway, 1.6 each. So, maybe if I would have spent a little differently at the bottom half, it could have been an even better outcome. But at this point in the game, I was happy to get back on the winning track. So,
there you go. Yeah, like this pool, if you would have entered it, only 138 points was the winner. What did he have? He had Jordan Kyrou, who had 25, Gustav Nyquist, 24, and then Jake Ottinger, 46 points from a goalie. That was probably the correct answer. But like the 46 points, that's halfway through just getting your money back, right? So you put together just a competent lineup on top of that. That was apparently the winner. So low scoring week last week. Anyone who did play, if you didn't win and you scored really low, I think it was just kind of the nature of the beast.
It is, but we don't live in the past here on the Canada Puck Podcast. We live in the here and now. Ooh. I was struggling a little bit with my roster today, and you know what? I just, for the sake of getting in it, I just put it in, but I am going to tinker. But Mick, who do you got out in your lineup today?
So based on last night's, I went with Capo Kekkonen, Sharks goalie. If he plays, he's cheap, $6,800. I kind of feel like the Penguins are going to win, but you could still put up 10 to 15 points on a losing effort. That is for the cheapness of what it is. I'm not taking a giant swing. Is he still projected 2 starts? He is. Cool. All right. Awesome. Not confirmed yet, so double check that one. And then I kind of low end and mid-level. That's kind of my strategy, so I'm not doing my studs and duds. Just trying to sprinkle a little bit around. I've got first line utility player Morgan Frost for the Flyers, and utility also have Anthony Bellevue, first liner Islanders Vegas tonight, $4,900. Matt Dumba, $41, and John Klingberg are my 2 defensemen, $46 and $4,100 respectively. And then up front we've got Jack Eichel. I hate him. I feel like he's screwed me over, but apparently I'm giving people second shots now. So apparently I might be like the Senators again. See if that hurts me. Vegas Islanders, they lost last night. We'll see. Can Jack Eichel do something? I don't know. Mark Scheifele is my other center at $79 and $7,400 respectively. And then at my 2 wings, got Evander Kane. I don't know. Does Evander Kane do stuff? One time I saw him score the same goal 3 times in a hockey game against the Flames. So that's the last time I think I saw an Oilers game. And then finally, the man, the myth, the legend, Drake Batherson. $7,200. You can't play FanDuel without Drake Batherson. It's illegal.
I remember the days when Drake Batherson used to be like $4,000 or $5,000. Those were the good old days.
Oh yeah.
I like parts of your roster. I like I said, for the sake of completeness, I had just put in Mackenzie Entwistle and Mikhail Gergensen, but those aren't who I want because I need feedback, Mick. I've got 2 open spots in my roster and $5,900 to play with. Sorry, $11,800, so $59 per player to work with. Starting at the top, I can't do a Saturday night FanDuel lineup without Connor McDavid. I also have Trevor Zegras next to him, okay. $6,600. Anaheim is playing good hockey. They've got like 4 goals or more, I think, in 4 straight. So, anyways, Trevor Zegras, they're back on home against the shitty Coyotes. Maybe a bit of a flat spot, but I still think there's going to be lots of scoring. Kyle Connor with the Jets, $8,600. As mentioned earlier, they're at home. Their metrics are working, and now it's just a matter of output to catch up. Kyle Connor's going to lead the charge. Defenseman Jake Middleton, Zach Bogosian, $3,600 each. They both play technically on the first pairing, but neither really contributes much offensively. So I'm not asking them to set the world on fire. Maybe a shot, maybe a block. 3.6, 5 points, that would do it for me. Teddy Bluger, I truly believe is undervalued. $3,400. Teddy Bluger does skate occasionally on the power play. He does get power play time. They get the Sharks. Sharks are, they are what they are, and that is not good. So yeah. Teddy Bluger, $3,400 just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, I could include him. Goaltending, Elvis Merzlikins. Seattle's not scoring well. They are also well above where they should be. Their PDO is inflated. Their shooting percentage is inflated. Their output doesn't match their production, and they are natural regression candidates. And I think we're kind of starting to see that a little bit. So anyways, I wouldn't be surprised if Columbus it's going to be a low-scoring game, I suspect, and I wouldn't be surprised if Columbus walked away with the win. So, if you're keeping track, that leaves me with one open winger spot and one open utility spot. And I was trying to shoehorn.
How much money approximately do you have?
I have approximately $5,900 per person.
Per person, eh? Okay, so you need to find like a mid-level guy. So I'm finding, I was randomly scrolling up and down as you're talking, and I found this cute little pocket of about 5 guys. I don't know if I would hate having these guys in my lineup. So at $6,600, you could have Thomas Hertl at center, paired with Trevor Zegras. You could have Andre Barkovsky and Blake Wheeler on your wings, and then you're getting Victor Hedman. Huh. That is not, like, if you put that in, you you could, like, splurge a little bit on, like, your 2 utility spots. You get some, like, so, I don't know. Do I like those players more than... they're probably about the same as what I've got. So we're going to look for, let's say, like, a 6... What you need is a bargain player. A real bargain player at, like...
Teddy Bluger, 3,400. I'm telling you, man. I got a good feeling about this.
For yourself, let's see. I think you have to take a dart throw. Find yourself, like, Alex Wenberg, second-line center for Seattle? No, man, you're not doing that. What about...
You've inspired me to complete my roster. I ended up throwing Blake Wheeler. He kind of pairs nicely with Kyle Connor. I know they don't skate on the same line, but power play time together, and like I said, I think Winnipeg's in a good spot. And that left me with $5,200, which was just enough to squeeze William Karlsson in. So... it's done. It's saved. That's what it is.
Yeah, solid. And there are some, like, that's like the best part of FanDuel is, like, when you get down to the section and you're like, Ross Colton, could he do something tonight? And Owen Powers is only $4,800.
And I've heard from reputable sources that he's going to score tonight.
He is the only man who can score. So, sweet. All right. Well, that works. Yeah. I'm comfortable. I'm not going to make changes. In the past, no, that's the rule. My rule is whatever shows up on the show is just what I roll with. So mine is goalie. So when Kakinen isn't playing tonight, I'm going to put in the other guy, if I remember, which I probably won't. So, too bad.
Those hard lessons we just never learn. I know.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Merzlikins, and then I'm going to have to fuck with everything. But the silver lining is that I'm not going to be paying close enough attention to actually care or notice. So, anyways, Merzlikins, the boat is yours. Or what is it? What is that thing they say when they disappear? Anyways, it's not coming to me. The references escape me.
Something is yours to lose. Is that what you're thinking?
No, it was a show I was watching. Oh, it was Game of Thrones. When they leave the Night's Watch, they're like, and I can't even remember what the Night's Watch place is called. It's like, that is yours. The command is yours. Anyways, something like that. Merzlikins, the command is yours. Cool. That fucking took too long. I wasted everybody's time.
Oh, man, that was as bad as... Remember, like, a couple weeks ago, I butchered that Simpsons quote that I was trying to get out? And it was like just 2 minutes of me just rambling, and I was like, we've all seen The Simpsons.
We got to tidy up those pop culture references.
Apparently, yeah. I need to, like, refocus and, like, just get back in there and grind some tape, so... Speaking of grinding tape, every week we play a game and we call it Bettor Advice. We take 100 theoretical dollars, we gamble it however we see fit, and keep track of how we're doing. Last week, I went 2 for 4, kept me at $202 on the year, so I'm up about $200. If you were following my advice and followed me to a T, you'd have an extra, you'd double your bankroll from the start of the season. So I've been on a little bit of a slow decline, but I think I recovered. Had a good Montreal. I knew they were going to beat the Leafs, and then I took Colorado for some reason. So go Nathan McKinnon.
I think I only went 1 for 4. Or no, I can't even remember now. Maybe I went 0 for 3. I should have looked into this before we started recording. I woke up off the couch and then I just rolled over here. But I'm pretty sure I'm down. I'm pretty sure I lost. I'm just going to assume I lost all my money because it hasn't been a good run.
Okay.
And I think that would put me at right around your mark. I think around 250-ish.
There you go. Well, we all end up in the same spot, and then Super Bowl comes, and something random will happen, and Grant will kill Malcolm Butler. I'll do something weird. It's good times, guys. It's good times. So this week I got 3 picks. Grant, how are you? How are you doing for pick numbers this week?
I have 3 as well. Okay. So you know what? I always defer to you. I'm going to selfishly rattle one off right now. Boston, middle of a road trip. They are coming off a loss. Florida is on the second night of a back-to-back. Okay. It's setting up as a bit of a... I think that this game goes to overtime. Plus 330, $30 to win 99.
Okay. Nice. Solid. For myself, I am going to go with some parlays. I'm going to try and turn little bits of money into lots of money. So the Leafs aren't playing on a Saturday night. I kind of don't know what to do with myself. I realize they played last night. They might be playing tomorrow. And the game might be televised. They've actually had a couple televised games this week, so I've been spoiled. But what am I doing on Saturday? I don't know. So I'm lost. I'm confused. I'm in the woods. Senators. Looked like they're playing pretty good hockey last night. Canadians, I feel like they care? So I'm going to go with the Senators. And I'm going to parlay that with the Winnipeg Jets. I like that play. Winnipeg, theory, should be able to take care of the Flyers. Stranger things have happened. Parlay those together. I do get plus 116. I'm going to put $35 on that parlay.
Canadian team moneyline play. Can't go wrong. I have next on my list the Tampa Bay Lightning. So Tampa Bay is hosting the other half of Florida's contest yesterday, and that is the Los Angeles Kings. Los Angeles walked away with the win. They were absolutely fucking dummied throughout the contest and still ended up winning. This team, the Kings, have this magical way of winning games despite these lackluster metrics, and they can't do what they did for a second night in a row against the Tampa Bay squad that's coming off a big win against the Boston Bruins and has really been playing good hockey over the last few. Tampa Bay minus 1.5 is plus 118, $30 to win 35.40.
Okay, solid. I'm going to look at, I think I like to theme my picks for some reason, and I like to theme around like Hockey Night in Canada. So I'm going to throw on CBC, hang out with my buddy Ron McLean, who, by the way, is kind of like, I don't know if I appreciate Ron McLean as much as I should, because like that guy's a national treasure. He's always just kind of chipper, and he's there. And at some point, you know what? He's not going to be there. He's not going to be a part of my life. The thought of that kind of makes me sad some days. So the second game, I'm going to try and keep somewhat invested. The Blackhawks beat the Flames earlier this week. They seem like they have random call-up guys that are trying to compete, trying to show the squad that they can play hockey, show the organization that they should keep them around. I like them covering the puck line. Plus 2.5 goals. I'm going to put $30 on the Blackhawks plus 2.5. Oilers might win, but I think it'll be closer than. I don't know if they're going to get like blown out, embarrassed.
I was going to say, Ron McLean's kind of like he's kind of like a lovable uncle in the way where he's always like friendly and chipper, you're right, but sometimes he just says the dumbest thing. But like, he does enough nice things outside of it where he's just like, you know what, we'll let it slide, Ron McLean. But every once in a while when he says something stupid, the first thing I do is I open up Twitter, because I know Twitter's will be quick to point things out. So anyways, if you ever hear him say something stupid, quickly go on to search Ron McLean on Twitter. You'll get some good tweets. Okay. But I'm not here to talk about Ron McLean. I'm here to talk about the Arizona Coyotes and Anaheim Ducks. Sometimes teams just deserve each other, and the Coyotes and Ducks deserve each other. And for better or worse, this is going to be a hockey game where two shitty teams just see what the other team can do, and I don't think it's going to sort itself out in 30 minutes. Or, sorry, 60 minutes. Well, I hope it doesn't sort itself out in 30 minutes, but not going to sort itself out in 60 minutes. This one's going overtime. Plus 320, $30 to win 96. You parlay all three of those picks together, $10 to win 383.71.
There it is. Myself, I'm going to do a parlay too. I know underdogs make money. Don't bet on favorites. It's stupid. It's what stupid people do. So I parlayed 4 favorites together to try and scrape some plus money. I don't know. I feel like I'm being a bit of a coward. We mentioned, I think I alluded to last week that I'm just like, oh, I haven't made a good pick in like months. No, I'm killing it, crushing it. I don't know. I've got to trust in myself, but I'm not tonight. I'm a coward. At least I was when I made these picks. So I'm going to take Jets, Pens, Oilers, and Kraken all to win. Parlay all 4 of those teams together. I get plus 250. Put $35 on that, and that's like 100 and something payout. So,
Well, Godspeed, sir. I'm going to say this. So one of the times when we were still in university and we just couldn't figure out how to bet on the NFL, and your strategy of like the 3 lowest, you would always pick like a couple of the favorites, be like, they're favorites, they're going to win. And then inevitably one of the favorites would just shit themselves. Mm-hmm. That was one of those like aha moments for me. I'm like, maybe the favorites don't always win. But anyways,
they definitely don't, and I know that. And I'm not saying do that, but sometimes when you find yourself between a rock and a hard place, I just kind of feel like I gotta do something, keep myself afloat. Well, yeah.
I hope it pays off for you today. The only one that I have a vested interest against is the Columbus Blue Jackets. But if I found another $6,600 goalie, I would gladly get off that and root for the Kraken with you.
There you go. Sweet. So that wraps up. Oh, look at that. Under an hour. Oh, good job. Good job, us.
But the Canada Puck Podcast wouldn't be the Canada Puck Podcast without the Babe of the Week. I can't remember if I dropped this little nugget earlier today or earlier in the podcast. I don't have my phone on me, so I had to go on the computer. I had some stuff saved. I couldn't quite find it the way that I had it saved. So anyways, last week, you may recall, the Dallas Stars Ice Girls were basically the porn equivalent of Dallas or Texas-based cheerleaders. And I was hoping to sprinkle them throughout the season, but I don't have my phone on me and I don't have the stuff that I needed. So I had to go back to that Dallas Stars Instagram. Well, her name's Demi, and it's like Alicia. It's DSIG_Demi, DEMI. This poor lady only has 1,244 followers, but the content she's created is worth at least that much in boners. So DSIG Demi, Dallas Stars Ice Girl Demi, you are our Babe of the Week. Schwing.
Dear God. She is a fucking bombshell. Huh. Why so few followers?
It's because we talked about this last week. Because this is like the bottom rung of cheerleaders in Texas. I was thinking about it afterwards. It was like, they're even below probably high school cheerleaders. I bet you high school cheerleaders would get her per diem. This is volunteering experience.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, college football is probably like a step below maybe the Cowboys in Texas. It's probably like Cowboys all of college or like all of high school, then maybe college, and then like there's like a trickle down effect. So I've heard some of those high school ones get kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think it's maybe one of those things we should go experience for ourselves. Towns shutting down to watch a college or a high school football game is just something that I can't quite get my head around. But
yeah,
that's not to take away from DSIG Demi.
Yeah, it sounds like something I'd go to prison for. Like if I was like, oh hey, I gotta like leave early. Oh, because like high school basketball team, the game starts at like 3 and I really need to be there for tip off. People would be like, we need to like investigate this guy and put an orange dot on his house and send him to jail. It's just good competitive. I like it. It's good. It's good. It's pure raw.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, the more and more I see of the Dallas Stars Ice crew, the more I'm like, maybe it's worth a trip. Maybe.
Yeah. You could probably get a couple sports in there too. Might be a fun little weekend.
It ain't not bad. I will say that much.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So with that, I think that wraps up our show. There you go. Last full show for a couple weeks. Next week break. Week after that, Super Bowl. Week after that, then we're back. So we're not looking like mid-February. We'll return. So there we go. We get a break. You get a break. Good times.
It is a good time, and I think it's a well-timed break because there's not going to be much to talk about around the All-Star.
No.
You don't want to hear us fucking complain about the All-Star break again.
No, we obviously need breaks. Grant's napping before the podcast. I'm falling asleep by the end of it. Like, whew. Exhausting venture that we're on.
Yeah. Maybe next time, man, stars align, 3 weeks. That's potentially enough time to have a producer and a sponsor lined up. Maybe.
Huh, there you go.
We'll see.
Manzies, underwear for men.
All right. Live.
I obviously I had more brain activity earlier when I was the Mikado, and now I'm just like, I don't know, like my energy drink. As soon as I was done it, and I was like,
the all insulin crash. It'll just be, the opening will always just be me and Mick posing in man thongs.
ooh.
We'll be like, ooh, check out the Manzies. That's how we're going to have to open everything now. And even if we're not sponsored, it feels like it's good content.
Yeah, that's probably where we're going. So, sex sells. Sweet. So with that, until, well, I guess, the Super Bowl, we have to say, party on, Grant.
Party on, Mick. We'll see everybody in a couple weeks.